Hey guys, Mo here, and I'm back with another video for my Fire Titan, my Volcanic Fissure Forge Hammer Titan, and my efforts to really like push the end game. You're seeing a T15 map, and you're seeing what really I've tried to accomplish, which is more of a one-button build, and the gameplay and playstyle actually resembles a lot of playing POE 1 Volcanic Fissure, and I'm going to explain in detail how I accomplished that, and really how to smooth out the build and make it as accessible as possible, really focusing on Volcanic Fissure and Ancestral Cry uptime. Alright, gonna get right into it. This might be a little bit boring because I'm gonna try to go into very good detail about what's going on and how I'm really like trying to maximize the build and the damage in the end game, right? But I'll keep that T15, some of the footage in the background, and then at the end of the video I'll put like some balls footage just so you can see the single target. But it's absolutely fine in T15s. I'm only level 88. I'm in solo self-found, so you can see right there. So my gear does suck, it is what it is, but in trade, this build's going to be a lot better for you, right? I feel like my weapon's like pretty decent too, but we'll talk about the gear in a little bit too. So right into the gems, and I'll try to label everything, right? Forge Hammer. So Forge Hammer Fist of War 3, very good. Fist of War 3 is actually overlapping the cooldown, but with Forge Hammer, I'm not like using it on cooldown. I kind of just use it that one time, and most bosses that want Forge Hammer, unless like a reset, you're pretty much like, you're good right there with Forge Hammer, right? So getting that massive double benefit from this Ancestral boosted, like I do not have the enough passives for this, but if I did, it would be even better. But you got to remember, nodes like empowered attacks and having the empowered effect, it does count for the Ancestral boost, so very good. That's why I use Fist of War. If you feel like you're not getting Ancestral boost enough and you want to use Forge Hammer more, you can use Fist of War 2, no big deal. Elemental Armament and Fire Attunement, very consistent. Rage Forge, I'm going to have a whole section on Rage and how we maintain it and maximize it, especially as a Titan, and I'll get to there. But like, you're always going to be consuming Rage, so very good. Things like Exploit Weakness to consume Broken Armor, we don't want to do that because we only break armor when we heavy stun, and we use it through a combination of Shattering Blow and some Armor Break here. If you don't feel comfortable, normally you don't need to get the increased Armor Break duration for a single target. Maybe some super endgame bosses, I would probably go this route instead, but it's really going to be a personal preference, right? So last up is Immolate, just a free 30% more damage, very good. We don't really care about Ignite. The only thing that Ignite does for us is really in a mapping scenario to be able to utilize Ancestral Cry on bosses. When you get an Ignite, you're going to be able to get your Ancestral Cry too. So that's the only thing we really care about Ignite. So some people have been asking me, damn, I'm not getting Ancestral Cry, I'm not getting Glory. Make sure you're able to actually inflict Ignite on your Volcanic Fissure. Don't get it like a little bit weird, but even with Volcanic Fissure, a 1 to 2% flammability magnitude, pretty much when you attack somebody, you add flammability to them. As that percentage goes up, that's the chance to ignite them. What's going to happen is that the higher damage you do, the more fire damage, the more magnitude of flammability, the easier it is to ignite. So the more damage you do, the easier to ignite, pretty much, right? I'll talk about Armor Explosion and how that kind of chains ignites into heavy stunts, into armor breaking, which is really good. But excuse me, long story short, we don't care about Ignite on Forge Hammer, right? So next up, Volcanic Fissure. Right here, pretty simple Fire Attunement, Elemental Armament, our big damage supports over here. Upheaval. Now this is going to be, some people might not like this, some people might not want to use it at all. If you're able to craft a weapon with additional Fissure chance instead of Aftershocks in combination with Splitting Ground, you're probably going to be in a good spot to skip out on Upheaval, which is a big damage boost, because now pretty much every other attack you're going to get at least one Fissure without losing 40% damage and the attack speed nerf. So that's a very big deal. Sorry about that. So that's a huge damage multiplier. Plus, not only do you lose this, but now you get to add another damaging support there, right? So like, that's massive. So that's something to think about. People have said that the Upheaval and Branching Fissures, well, really it's Upheaval, the additional Fissures don't overlap for single target or shotgun, and I feel like that is probably true, but there are times where there's delay in the Fissure procs where it just feels like these lines, they actually do proc multiple times how they connect, even though it's different fissures. So I'm not sure how true. Maybe it's, yeah, again, maybe it's just a placebo effect, but sometimes I notice with Upheaval, that single target, like the big hitboxes, I absolutely like just murder them, right? So long shot, this is going to be kind of a surprise, right? So why do we use long shot versus some other conventional supports, right? We are going to use armor explosion. As a Titan, you do not have to go crushing impacts to really utilize armor explosion. Because we have so much stun build up, because we do so much damage, you're going to be absolutely fine being able to trigger armor explosion reliably. Right now, long shot, that's a huge damage multiplier, a little bit more than close combat. And as you see in the footage, really what it's going to happen is that with massive AoE, with your Infernal Cry, which we're going to have no cooldown on our Warcries, right? We're going to have infinite Warcries and infinite Rage. You're going to be able to off-screen stuff, and it kind of homes. And at the end of all this, your armor explosions are going to chain, and it gets kind of, well, not really chain, but like they're going to be proccing with enough area and, you know, stuns that it just gets absolutely disgusting. Now, you have to remember, armor explosion going to do 30% of your default attack damage, right? So that's really, really good. Like, it might not be too good, but it's good enough, right? And these supports actually help it. Fire Attunement, Elemental Armor, do buff armor explosion damage as well. Now, long shot, you'll see it actually buffs it as well, and same thing with close combat. So depending on the map, depending on the distance on the map, these both will buff your armor explosion damage depending on the distance. So that's what we want to do. Again, when it comes to Ignite and Volcanic Fissure, you do want your Ignite on Volcanic Fissure, and then that's going to enable you to get Ancestral Cry. You're going to have Ancestral Cry more than half the time that you're mapping, and once you get Ancestral Cry and you're just slamming while moving, like you see in the footage, like it's amazing. Like, this is by far the most fun I've ever had in POE 1 or POE 2 as like a melee slammer. Like, it has not been close, and I love POE 1 Earth Shatter, right? So that's talking about Volcanic Fissure. Next up is Stampede. You do not have to use Stampede. You can use Leap Slam, you can use Bone Shatter, whatever you want, but Stampede is not even a primary skill anymore. The only reason I use Stampede is to get me my 5 endurance charges so I can maximize a 50-second Ancestral Cry. Now, how do I do that? With Enduring Impact and Armor Break, again, every time we heavy stun somebody, and as we heavy stun them, right, we're going to break their armor 100%, and then we're going to have over a 50% chance, well, exactly a 50% chance to generate an endurance charge. Now, this is normally only going to have to use 1 or 2 packs with Stampede, and you get your max endurance charges, so that's massive. Now, instead of like the old playstyle where I was stampeding, I was using Crater, I'm doing all this other stuff that's kind of like extra steps. Now, all I have to do is Volcanic Fissure, and then for like tougher single target rares, I can either Forge Hammer or I can Rolling Slam. And Forge Hammer is massive damage. A lot of the times, you don't even have to explode your Forge Hammer. You could just throw your Forge Hammer, get some Fissure procs, and then you can bring it right back to you, right? So, like, very, very, very cool. Going back to both Forge Hammer and Volcanic Fissure, I almost forgot about this. I did one. It's going to be its own section, but Fire Penetration. You're going to need 50% Fire Penetration with endgame bosses and stuff like that. It'll help you in mapping too, but you have 50% with these Ubers and these Pinnacles, right? General mapping, you don't need that much. It's only 30%, but really, like, let's say you have map mods that have like plus 36% Ellie res. You don't really care anymore, right? Because we don't have to use Fire Pen, so that's more damage that we're doing, because now we can get damage multipliers instead of using Fire Pen like 2 or 3, right? So now all you need is 50% Fire Pen, and with this really, really cool jewel, again, I'm in Soul Self-Found. I don't know how accessible this is, but other jewels like this, you can roll damage pen on these jewels, rage on hit. Very, very cool, right? So something like this, 2% as a Titan, now I have 3%. Now, pretty much all together with all these benefits, I am going these Warcries because of that Fire Pen instead of these two over here. You'll see that, oh my god, with all this, with over here, and I think that's it. It gets me 49% armor pen, so I can go right into Uber Pinnacles and Pinnacles without Rakiata's Dance. If I had that in trade, I would 100% use it, that Lineage gem, but I don't. So with this, you max out your Fire Pen, so you free up 2 support gems, you free it up on Ancestral Cry as well, so that's massive. That's the quick Fire Pen, right? If you're unable to get like a jewel like this, you could always just invest a little bit more in Fire Pen. I think over here, and then yeah, these two. So like that's 19% right there. Very, very good. And you know, that's something to think about. Where now you free up a gem slot, you're gonna do even more damage. Okay, next up, Rolling Slam. So Rolling Slam, we're going to be using Aftershock. You don't have to use Aftershock. You can use something like Heavy Swing or Heft. But the thing is about when it comes to damage conversion and for Ancestral Cry, when you have some support gems that say more maximum hit damage, let's go over here real quick, like Heft, right? If I use Heft on Volcanic Fissure, and you'll see the damage right over here. And when you notice the fire damage on hit, see if I can just do this real quick. Now, it's going to be only whatever that was, right? So it's 29 with Heft and only 28 without it. That's not even 100. It's 113 damage increase, right? And the fire damage is pretty negligible, right? It's actually nothing. So, like, even though this is maximum physical hit, it's not like POE 1 where increasing your physical damage and converting it is going to work. It does not work that way. So that's why certain gem selections, we go that. So something like Rolling Slam, even though it is 100% physical, when we do use Ancestral Cry, we don't want to hamper the damage during the conversion because that's only going to affect the physical portion. If we convert it to fire with Fist of War, with Avatar Fire, which I'm not doing anymore, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But with Ancestral Cry, you're gonna lose a lot of damage, which is why we use supports like this, right? Again, with Fist of War and Volcanic Fissure, Fist of War is not gonna buff your armor explosion damage, so that's why we don't use it on Volcanic Fissure, right? And that's why I'm kind of a little bit sour on Ancestral Empowerment now, especially because Earthbreaker, you can just craft that on a weapon, and it's like you get a free Ascendancy Note on your weapon, and you can get even more armor, which is awesome. And then you can, will be super tanky eventually, right? So, like, that's that. So that's why we use these gems on Rolling Slam. Rolling Slam versus Earth Shatter. Earth Shatter is very, very good, but Rolling Slam is just, like, so much more convenient. Even though we have no cooldown on Warcries, as you can see here, I can just chain my Warcries over and over again. Right, like I could just spam Seismic Cry, no big deal, right? If I wanted to, I could fit the Infernal Cry in there, like, so that's the Warcry, right? But, like, even though we can spam Warcries and explode spikes, it's kind of just a pain in the ass. I've played 4 Earth Shatter Warriors since POE release, so playing Rolling Slam, one, the damage multiplier is crazy, and mechanically is the best version to trigger with your actual fissures, right? Because you have 2 aftershocks potentially, you have 4 potential fissure triggers, and it lines up so perfectly where they don't overlap, so like they go into sequence. It just works out very, very well, and the damage really is just absolutely disgusting. Like, it's so goddamn good. It's a lot of fun to utilize, right? So Ancestral Cry, next up. We do want duration. Duration's great. We're not using the charge. There's like one thing where you have a 28 or 25% chance to like get double duration or double the benefit of charges. I'm not using that because it just doesn't, it's not really needed, right? Like when you do have your Ancestral Cry window down, you're able to just get it right back up because your armor break, even though your Volcanic Fissure ignites are low, when your armor explosion triggers on that heavy stun, you're factoring in the broken armor effect, the increased broken armor effect, more damage on heavy stun. There's so much more damage on that explosion that it's a big hit with the armor explosion, and then it ignites them and you start chaining and beefing up your and getting your glory for your Ancestral Cry, right? So generally, besides just prolonged duration, we're going to use more damage multipliers because again, these damage supports buff up your DPS and the average hit rate. So very important. As you can see, like it does affect your damage. So like very important. Actually, let me look at this. Did it increase it? Yeah, okay, just making sure, right? So very important to add these as well. Infernal Cry, no cooldown reduction anymore. Very similar to Seismic Cry. So Raging Cry, Tireless, and Enraged Warcry. We are pretty much a Warbringer with infinite Warcries if you manage to do it correctly. I'm not sure if it's because of the increased power. There is something weird with Warcries, right? So like we should be getting 16 rage every time we Warcry. We only get it with Seismic. If we have a minimum of 10 power, right? Actually, this is so weird. So like we get 16 rage, so you get 4 per 5. So that's, oh no, you should be getting, so you get 8 rage per 10 power. We have a minimum of 10 power, right? So that's why we get the 16 rage. So we have 8 per whatever. This is like, I don't even know. It's just weird, right? So like 8 rage for every 10 power. So we have a minimum of 10 power, but Seismic gives us 16. and I'm assuming that's because we have to increase power by the Warcry generation. But for Infernal Cry, you only get 8. So it's a little weird, right? Because like, Seismic gives you so much. I don't know why it works this way. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe they should both only just be the 8. Maybe the Titan passives are not lining up, certainly with Infernal Cry. But long story short, you get infinite Warcries as even Titan. So that's absolutely nuts. When it comes to like comboing on bosses, you don't really have to worry, because as soon as you can prep the boss with your Infernal Seismic, you can do this. You can use Seismic to explode your fissure, and then as soon as the boss spawns, you can redo it, and then you can Rolling Slam, and you're gonna have infinite Warcries, right? So you don't have to worry really about comboing. Just like, hey, make sure you're Warcrying every like 2 or 3 attacks. But use Tireless to like smooth out mapping with both. And then in Rage Warcry, that's how you bypass the cooldown instead of endurance charges, right? So because we're generating more rage than the cost of Seismic, we have infinite rage, right? So, or infinite Warcry usage, which is very, very cool. Now, I am using efficiency just for like mapping and help mana, because again, as you can see, I'm not blood magic anymore. And then finally, for auras, scavenge plating is always consistently the must. I'm using overwhelming presence just because it helps with getting the stuns and getting the ignites. So it smooths out your mapping. For bosses, it's still pretty solid. As much as I love Herald of Ash is just really not usable for big AoE clears unless you're using Bone Shatter. Stampede just really doesn't hit hard enough to get that big overkill as Rolling Slam does, but we're not trying to Rolling Slam for map clear, right? Volcanic Fissure, very, very weak hit where we rely on the Armor Explosion to clear. So the overkill damage to utilize Herald of Ash is just not good enough. There's no noticeable difference between using Herald of Ash and not, so you might as well just use a different aura, and that's all the skills. Next up, we'll talk about the passive tree. I haven't changed much. I'm pretty dead set on this. Very, very, very happy. I've made some minor changes, like losing the attack speed. It's just not really needed. Losing some of the other stuff, losing some fire damage over here, just getting more AoE to help smooth out the mapping. And that's pretty much it. I've even invested into Unimpeded because I feel like every other map either has Chill Ground or Temporal Change, and then you have the bubble monsters. Having a 48, I think this is, less chance, less effectiveness on slows on you is very, very, very good. Like, it makes a huge difference. I am using a Charm too over here for slows, so that helps a lot. Ignites as well. This is just to get more ignited ground, get some more consistent ignites, no big deal. And then just to help with poison, because I am not chaos res capped. And you can see, even with, like, guys, I'm in solo self-found, still on max resist, and with armor applying to Ellie damage, very, very good. It's actually just massive, right? So there are some things here I did want to talk about. I would like to get Skull Crusher, but things like Overheating Blow, again, these are very, very big for smoothing out your map clear with Armor Explosion, because your Armor Explosion triggers after the armor is broken. So they get the benefits of Pile-On, they get the benefits of the Molten One's Gift, they get the benefits of Skull Crusher as well as Overheating Blow. So when you're doing more damage, when they're heavy stun, it's going to help your Armor Explosion, which is going to help clear out and enable you to really do, like, preferably close to a 1-button clear, which is huge, right? So that's that. If you have any question about the passive tree, there's really not much. I got rid of this. Drop some Warcry notes here, because again, we don't need any cooldown reduction. The only reason why I'm going this way is to get more Fire Pen, right? Otherwise, if I didn't have a gem like this, I would get Warcry speed, because that's more valuable, and then we don't need any Warcry cooldown reduction. So big change to the build. Very, very cool. Would like to get more strength while we can. Don't really care about Giant's Blood at all. Losing a couple hundred health is not that too big of a deal, but it's such a pain in the ass, especially in solo self-found, to be able to get, like, attack speed, the aftershock, and then, like, I would have to get the perfect weapon to be able to get reduced attributes. And having Mana Leech is huge, right? Because again, we're not going Avatar of Fire. It'll nerf your damage too much with your Fizz spells, and having Fizz access, it allows you to leech life and leech mana, and the only time you're going to have any type of mana issue is when you have Ancestral Cry. So that's it. Besides that, you're going to be set. There's really nothing to worry about there. Oh, yeah, so talking about the weapon, I do want to mention that if you are in trade, I know last video I said that getting the fissures is probably preferable. I think it's rarer because I did the reroll on this and I saw aftershock twice and fissure. I didn't see the fissure at all, but I'm starting to lean more towards aftershock. The fissure is really only going to help your volcanic fissure and earth shatter using it. I'm only using volcanic fissure. You also would have to use all these points to get here. If you're already going that direction, maybe it's worth it. The big benefit is not having to use upheaval, which would increase your DPS and damage as well. But I don't know, the aftershock chance, like getting that free ascendancy is massive. Like freeing that up is huge. So I'm very, very, very happy with this weapon. There are some other mods like trying to get more life. Like on here, you can get it on your chest too, I believe. But really, your resist, as much armor applies to Ellie as well, and just try to round out everything you can with life, resist, armor applying to Ellie. Attack speed here or flat fizz damage will be great too, but that's pretty much it, guys. I did talk about the charms. We are using both pots, and I can't really think about anything else, and I have to take care of my kid. So I just wanted to get this video out here. I'll edit it, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Like very, very fun, very, very good end game doing T15s, no problem. I'm cruising. I'm having a lot of fun. I've never had this much fun before. I'm just like, the only reason why I don't seem excited because I haven't slept in days. So it's like there's that. And yeah, I'm going to update the mobile lytics guide again because I did make a lot of changes gem-wise and map clear and stuff like that. Armor explosion now. Again, armor explosion, TLDR, you don't need to use crushing blows. You do enough stun buildup and damage to trigger the armor explosions, and we're going to scale armor explosions. We're going to double scale our volcanic fissure, so every damage you support on volcanic fissure is going to benefit our armor explosion and help our clear. And then we're just going to utilize Ancestral Cry as much, and you're going to get endurance charges by using Stampede once or twice a map. You don't have to use Stampede, you can use Leap Slam, but again, you use Stampede just for like a map. 1 or 2 packs, I'm sorry, and you get massive endurance charge generation there, 50%, and you don't have to use enduring whatever this is on your volcanic fissure anymore, right? So very, very big. Most of the background tech here. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, again, I don't care about subbing, so don't worry about that. But if you do want to leave a comment, any questions, I will answer everybody. I always get to everybody. So that's pretty much it. Have a good one.